In the vast, tangled web of the JonBenéT Ramsey case, there's one piece of evidence that has always felt wrong. It's so bizarre, so out of place that it just defies all logic. I'm talking about the oversized underwear found on her body. And this one single item, it doesn't just raise questions, it could unravel the entire official story.
So that brings us to the one central question that we have to explore. What if this key piece of evidence wasn't a clue left by an intruder at all, but was actually part of a cover-up, a calculated deception designed from the start to point everyone in the wrong direction?
All right, let's dive right in. Fact number 1, the story of the phantom niece. This is all about the wildly different, conflicting stories that John and Patsy Ramsey told about the niece who this underwear was supposedly for. The second investigators started asking really basic questions, the whole narrative just started to crack.
I mean, listen to this. The contradiction is just staggering. When investigators asked about their niece, Jenny, back in 2000, John described her as a fairly stocky high schooler. But Patsy, she remembered an 11 or 12-year-old girl who was not a larger girl, back when she supposedly bought the gift. How can two parents have such completely different memories of a relative they're buying clothes for?
Look, this isn't just a simple case of a bad memory. Investigators have a term for this. It's called narrative divergence. It means one of two things is happening. Either they had a rehearsed story that's now falling apart under basic questioning, or they're so disconnected from the truth that they can't even get their facts straight.
To an investigator, these aren't just little mistakes. This is a whole constellation of red flags. It suggests the gift story was made up after the fact. It just breaks from normal, logical behavior. You know the size of a kid you're buying clothes for. And all this ambiguity, it creates a perfect wall of plausible deniability, making it almost impossible to pin down what really happened.
And if their story was crumbling, the physical evidence was about to just shatter it. This is where the narrative slams head-on into the cold, hard reality of numbers.
So first, a simple, stark fact. JonBenéT Ramsey. She was a 6-year-old girl. She weighed 45 pounds.
Now, the underwear she was found wearing, get this, it was designed for a child who weighs 85 pounds. That is nearly double her weight. The physical impossibility here is just astounding.
And this just highlights how absurd the whole thing is. Patsy's own attempt at an explanation was that, well, it was fine as long as they didn't fall down around her ankles. We're not talking about a slightly loose fit here. We're talking about underwear made for a child at a completely different stage of life.
I mean, the anatomical difference between a 45-pound 6-year-old and an 85-pound 12-year-old is just immense. The idea that they could even share underwear doesn't just stretch logic, it completely snaps it in half. This is not a simple mix-up, it's a story that defies basic biology.
Okay, fact number 3. This isn't just about what the underwear was, but where it was. Its bizarre journey from a store in New York all the way to the crime scene, it doesn't suggest a mistake, it suggests staging.
Let's just trace this path, okay? Step 1, it's bought in New York. Step 2, back home, all the other Christmas gifts are being wrapped and stored down in the basement. Pretty normal. But then, step 3, for some reason, this one single pair of underwear is taken from the gift pile and put in JonBenéT's personal bathroom drawer upstairs. And then, step 4, it's found on her body. That third step right there, that's a massive break from their routine. It just screams that something is wrong. And it just forces you to ask the most critical question, why? Why was this one item separated from everything else and moved to such a specific private location? There's just no logical, everyday reason for doing that.
Yeah, from a criminological point of view, that isn't random. It's choreography. It's staging. This one simple act creates a prepackaged alibi. By putting the underwear in her drawer, it builds a story. Oh, JonBenéT must have just grabbed them herself. It is a classic sign of someone creating a misleading trail to explain away a very incriminating piece of evidence.
And this choreography, it didn't just stop with physical evidence. It extended to the testimony itself. Which brings us to fact number 4. When Patsy Ramsey was confronted with hard evidence from that drawer, her story about her daughter's size starts to twist and bend in real time. This part is so telling. When they ask Patsy what size JonBeNét wore, she first says 8 to 10. Then the investigators reveal, well, we only found size 4 and 6 panties in her drawer. So what does Patsy do? Does she correct herself to the truth? Nope. She shifts her estimate down to 6 to 8, a size for which there was also zero evidence. Her story keeps moving, but it never actually aligns with the facts.
You know, there's actually a name for this psychological maneuver. It's called mid-range deflection. It's a tactic of evasion. The person moves just close enough to the truth to seem cooperative, but they stop short of the actual fact because they're protecting the bigger lie they're trying to sell. It's a calculated move.
So this isn't somebody just struggling to remember something. It's a performance. It's a linguistic tightrope walk, and it's designed to sound plausible while you carefully, subtly dance around the evidence that could bring your whole story crashing down.
And finally, this brings us to the climax of this whole analysis, fact number 5. This goes beyond just words. We're getting into the most damning behavioral red flags that came out during the interrogations, those moments where the mind and the body betray a hidden truth.
So when Patsy was confronted with really specific, threatening evidence like fibers or the pineapple in the kitchen, she would often just freeze, visually and verbally. This is not just being nervous. It's a documented response called cognitive freezing. It's like a neurological jam that happens when your brain perceives a direct threat. It's a subconscious signal that you know you're about to be exposed.
And right here lies the crucial difference. An innocent person, they try to remember what happened. A deceptive person, they're trying to figure out what the investigator already knows. So Patsy's repeated questions like, "How did you find that out?" That's not about her memory. That is a textbook control tactic. That's her trying to assess the threat level.
So when you pull back and you look at all 5 of these facts together, a really disturbing picture starts to emerge. This is not a series of unfortunate coincidences or just some memory lapses. It is a clear, consistent pattern. Just look at this pattern. You have the conflicting stories about the niece, the impossible sizing of the underwear, the illogical placement that suggests staging. You have testimony that shifts with every new piece of evidence, and then a physical cognitive freeze when the lies are threatened. Any one of these things on its own is suspicious, but when you put them all together, they form the architecture of a deliberate, intentional deception. And that leaves us with one final, chilling question that reframes this entire case. The story of the underwear was constructed, it seems, to explain away a single piece of evidence. So if that entire foundation is built on a lie, what else about that night was a lie too?